This is Breaking Down Security. I am Brian Brake. Welcome back, listener. This is Brian. Mr. Betcher's not here this week for Breaking Down Security. And, I wanted to go ahead and get into our interview here with Ms. Cheryl Biswas.
That's right. You got it.
Yes. I have like the memory of a goldfish. She was on, for those of you who are regular listeners of the podcast, she was on with on our mainframe podcast, talking about mainframe security with Soldier of Fortran and Big Indian Smalls on Twitter. Those are their handles. And it was a great little conversation about mainframe security. So, go back and listen to that. But what we had her on for, at least for this interview, was something that she's working. Are you working this? Are you an organizer of this?
Oh, yeah. I've been involved since it was an idea on a napkin. So, yeah. Okay. I'm in up to my eyeballs.
Eyeballs, right. So what we're talking about is TiaraCon, which is an ancillary, a side convention, if you will, it's occurring during the week of the Black Hat and the DEF Cons, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's a 2-day event.
Wow, very nice. Yeah, so it's well, I didn't know because most B-sides are only 1 day. So and then there's B-sides Las Vegas that's going on. As a side convention, there's like Passwords Con. I think there's another one that's going on during that time as well. In addition to the 50th anniversary Star Trek thing, which it's all going on around the same time.
Oh,
it's going to be crazy stupid in Vegas. It's 50th anniversary. I got people that I know that have spent $5,000 just to go to get the Captain's Admiral Golden, Uber package, and we're unhappy when they sold out. So yeah, it's been sold out for almost a year, almost as long as Black Hat and DEF CON have been.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's a good thing I didn't know about this.
You will definitely see some Klingons during Vegas during that week, I think. So, well, I don't know. It's probably at the Hilton. Ooh, might not be at the Hilton. It'll definitely be something huge. There'll be a lot of people there. So, I mean, you'd probably see some Starfleet uniforms. So, but we're not talking about Star Trek. We're talking about TiaraCon. So maybe you could give us a little bit of background about yourself first, just in case somebody hasn't listened to the mainframe con, mainframe talk, and then we'll talk about TiaraCon.
Sure. Okay. So, I've got a new job since last we spoke.
Oh,
so Yes. So I now do threat intel, and I'm on the cybersecurity team with KPMG in Canada, in Toronto.
Okay.
So I've got a couple of good friends, folks I'll do a little shout out to Traversal, as he's known, or Hayden, and just wish you a happy birthday, Hayden.
Yep. We're recording this on the 14th. It is his birthday today. So I met him at DerbyCon last year. He's a good guy. We met him at DerbyCon, and happy birthday, Hayden. It's on the 14th. Belated birthday. I don't know when this is going to go out. Probably this weekend sometime. But yeah. So you work for KPMG in the threat intel group.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So all good things there. And when I'm not doing that, I'm sticking my nose into, I've got this thing for neglected and very sensitive systems like mainframes or ICS SCADA, things that get connected that shouldn't be connected, that nobody seems to realize bad things can happen to as well.
Sure.
So this year was really interesting for me in terms of developing more of an awareness and an expertise in the ICS SCADA sections, and did a lot of good work alongside. You might know Chris Sistrunk. He's a real expert on the field, and so I got to talk to him, especially when the Ukrainian power grid thing went down.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, there's some fascinating tie-ins. So actually, Hayden and I did a really did a dream talk of mine, because Stuxnet, like a lot of people, Stuxnet's what drew me here. We talked about a Stuxnet for mainframes at Circle CityCon this past June, and it was fascinating to do the research and also to see the parallels between both of these supposedly segregated and need to be highly protected systems. Because there's some serious lessons to be learned from one and applied to the other. And that's what brings me here. So I will be also getting to do a talk at BSides Las Vegas, and it'll be very interesting. It's called How to Rob a Bank, or the Swift and Easy Way to Grow Your Online Savings.
Oh, yeah, with all the recent Swift stuff. Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And Hayden's actually got a great talk going on at BSides as well on pen testing.
Okay, yeah, he's wanting to move into the purple teaming stuff. So he loves that. He loves that purple teaming stuff. Yeah. So, all right. Well, you mentioned a little earlier that TiaraCon. This is not the first year for TiaraCon. Maybe you could explain what TiaraCon is and what it's designed to do.
Okay. Well, this started as an idea literally in a food court with a group of women at DEF CON last year. So the napkin idea was born, and we talked about, we should have a conference in the midst of all of this that would make women want to be part, want to join in, want to really feel connected within information security, because we've heard all of the negative stuff about it. Now, there's been some, there's a range of experiences, but the focus is, how do we get more women in here? How do we grow the number from 10% further up? How do we bring in young women who are just getting into their university careers, and maybe attract women who are moving on to further, down their career line, who've got valuable expertise, soft skills, things that can grow us beyond where we are at and give us what I would say is a definite strategic advantage, because women come in and they leave, or women don't come in at all. So that's the heart and spirit of TiaraCon. Is it's almost like a sisterhood. We're going to mentor each other. We're going to talk about shared experiences within information security. We're going to share our passion, what's drawn us here, what we love doing, learn from each other, which is huge. And we're going to do it, and this is the coolest part, we're going to do it in the midst of DEF CON. We are very fortunate, thanks to the 503 Labs, to be actually now a part of DEF CON. We've got a penthouse suite at Bally's so that we can host a good number, like probably 200 attendees who get to come and participate fully. And it's not just going to be exclusive to women, because we don't operate in exclusion of the guys. We operate together. So we are going to have events that are for everybody, but we're also going to have a women's only workshop happening on Friday morning. So it'll start on Thursday evening with networking, and come hang out. There'll be some good games, some getting to build. Yeah, we've got fantastic Tiara Blinky badges. Seriously, on circuit boards. Then we'll have a Sadie Hawkins mixer, so girls can invite a +1 and just do all the fun stuff, because that's the big part of cons too. Is you don't come there to work, you come there to get a full experience. Sure. And then Fridays, just diving right into all kinds of learning and networking. So we've got the workshop with Brain Babe. Deirdre is in charge of that, and the names, I will pull them up in a second to just go over them with you, but it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to talk about career building. And then there'll be a break for lunch. And from that, we're going to have a small groups sessions to work with the women who come there, the attendees, especially the younger women who are getting started, and have a resume bar.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I know that resume writing is something that sometimes eludes many people in our industry, or any industry, I think, and that's always a good thing to go over a resume and make sure that it actually makes sense and it actually shows
Yeah.
the person and the value that they're going to bring instead of just copying and pasting something that you found in Google, for instance.
No.
So yeah.
And so that's how it came to be, and we are amazed at how quickly it has evolved and become what was it really is. It's a grassroots con that we want people to come to and feel really comfortable about, and that will grow consistently over the years. So that's the objective, and it's spearheaded Sarah Clark, Dystonic, on the Twitters. It was her baby, and she has nurtured it lovingly, and then brought all of us. We were around it and brought us into the fold and opened it up to people who really wanted to play a role. And it's really grown each of us in terms of our skills and our, when you make these kind of friendships that last, you can say this is going to last a lifetime. It has that feel to it. And that's what we want to, again, encourage for women. We think that would be an amazing thing to come away with. Because wherever you're working. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said it was a 2-day event?
It is.
Okay. Can you give me an example of some of the talks? Did you guys do a CFP, or did you guys just, hey, would you like to come and talk? Yeah, here's what I'd like to talk about. How did you guys go about getting the speaker list?
Okay, so we actually bypassed doing a speaker list this year. What we have is that we're going to feature a panel, and the panel will be myself, if you know her, Tracy, Infosec Sherpa, Kat Sweet, who had a terrific idea about getting to do this, and we're realizing that here, having women talk about our different experiences getting into Infosec, and a representative from the group Cyber, I think it's Cyber SN as well. So it'll be 4 women on the panel, and we can just talk about that.
Sure. Yeah. What's is that the only panel you're having, and what is that about? Okay,
so that is about how each of us as women have found our ways into Infosec. I'm sorry, the 4th panelist is Cheryl Gutierrez.
Okay.
So we think it's important to be able to encourage women to say, you know what, you don't come here because you follow this straight path. Actually, the beauty of it is you can come from a variety of backgrounds. Most of the women whom I know, the story is the same. Well, I wound up doing this, and I discovered I loved it, and the next thing I know, I've become a sock monkey, or I'm the one running the cables, or I'm the one, and that's it. Just evolves into this, and we want to show this passion for security, this passion for learning, this ability to adapt and apply creative solutions that we all seem to share, and foster that, grow that.
Very nice. Yeah. Yep. So the question I've got is, so there's been a lot of talk about the distribution of ladies and females and even minorities in many cases in Infosec. And I have found a lot of ladies. I mean, I follow several hundred on my Twitter alone. And we've had several on here. We've had Miss Georgia Veitman. We've had just recently Kim Green, of course, yourself a few times on discussing various things. And a lot of these ladies I find are in leadership roles. Kim Green, of course, being a CISO at a major organization. She's a CEO of her own company that does CISO as a service. And of course, Georgia, she started regular pen testing, and now she's, CEO of her own company that, just got some, I think some angel funding recently. So that's pretty awesome for her.
Yes.
Are we, let me see, how do I say this? Are we looking in the wrong place for diversity? If they're not on the front lines doing pen tests, are we not looking at the whole of InfoSec to find the diversity? Because it seems to me my wife is way smarter than I am, and I'm, she is the planner. She's an Uber, PM. She's in a leadership role, and she's over, she's really technical, and I love the fact that she does that stuff. What I'm trying to understand is if we don't see them, doing pen tests and stuff, is that where we're, thinking that there's the deficiency, or is it just across the board?
Wow. I think we see a disproportionate number of women in things like governance and privacy, because that seems to be where maybe that's where people feel more comfortable giving them roles. That women are met with the, well, I know I was met with it, well, you don't need to be that technical. Well, I want to be that technical.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me I don't need to learn this? I really do. So I think there is an attitude, or certainly a perception that because you're a woman, you are equipped with a certain set of skills. And yes, we are. We're nurturing, we're creative, we're communicative, we're collaborative. But it doesn't mean that we're only that. And for some women, those are not as strong as their investigative and analytical and highly technical skills, which they are amazing at. And so the problem is definitely in pigeonholing people by perception. I think the other problem is that I don't know why, but helping women in, I guess, high school and young women in high school to see the future in doing this, the range of opportunities, how interesting it is, but perhaps it needs to develop over time. How experience opens your mind to more things, and you start to see relationships that you could never have seen form before. That may be a part of it, and that may be explaining to me anyway why I'm seeing a number of women coming in after that, university graduate level mark, coming in while they've had a chance to have a career and it's evolved into something, and now they really do have an appreciation for what they want to do. And without a question, you do Infosec because you love it. This is not a 9-to-5 job. I've always said that for me, it's a calling, and I never thought I would find anything I love to do as much as I love to do this.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I mean, the big part of it is mentorship and trying to get people who may not have seen or wanted to get into Infosec a leg up to help them understand where their skills could, I have a lady who comes to our CSEC East meetings here in Seattle. Her name's Neela. She was a software developer, and she wanted to get into security because she'd been doing some security PM work before. So she had me look at her resume, and, I was like, I tend to, I've been told that I'm kind of brutally honest with my information. So one of the things I like to tell them is, hang on a second. Next door neighbor. Sorry about that. So one of the things I like to tell people when I'm looking at the resumes is you have to show how you bring value. You have to show how you bring efficiency, or you bring down inefficiency, or, if you're trying to get into Infosec, you have to steer your resume towards Infosec, how you've done something, yes. Tracking problems, that kind of thing. And all her stuff, I helped with some resume writing. So I also said, I'm not the only person that you need to talk to. There's another lady, and her name's Amanda, and she works over at NCC Group. Hey, Amanda. And, and I said, hey, you need to talk with her, because she actually does real pen testing, something that I don't do for a living. I do a little bit, but I said, depending on what kind of job you want, you may want to talk to her about various things, because she said she wanted to get into more technical stuff. So right. Yeah, I mean, I think mentoring is so important if you're trying to, especially the ladies in high school who, are
Yes.
looking to go to college and they want to either get a CS degree or double E degree or something. What do they do with that when they get out? And one of those things is, Infosec. So, how do you advertise to those folks to, hey, come to TiaraCon? We're better than spending 25 odd $100 on a black hat ticket. How we'll do all this stuff for you or help you with these things that you wouldn't necessarily get with black hat. Or, I mean, how do you advertise that kind of thing?
So what we're doing is we're harnessing social media. That's
Okay.
We're talking to people where we listen is where we figure other women are listening to. That's how we can reach out. That's a good start. So we're using Twitter, using Facebook, and haven't really explored LinkedIn, but again, this is about being able to generate that connection and that idea. We've got a basic but functional, website that lays out all of the detail and has the sign-on form. So those are the three components. And then we've gone to other cons and put a little pamphlet in. Actually, that's the beautiful thing about the smaller cons is that everybody works together. Again, there's collaboration. So they're willing to, you can talk about what you've got coming up. You can definitely circulate a pamphlet and speak to people. So it's those moments when you meet up in Hallway Con or when you're at a local, one of your local groups, like in Toronto, we have Task Toronto. So I just stood up at the beginning of the meeting and just told people what we were doing and this great idea and said, when you're down in Vegas, come check us out. This is what we're all about. Yeah. So it's word of mouth is very powerful still. And I think there's a lot of, it's a lot about who you know and who you trust and being able to communicate a message simply, but that resonates.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah. So you said that there's a panel. You're going to be doing some resume help.
Yes.
There's you're going to do games and parties on the Sadie Hawkins thing, which is cool.
Right.
So, I mean, where do you see this going in the future? You guys had the basic back of the bar napkin idea. Where would you like to see this expanded to, or what would you like to see happen in the future? Would you like this become its own like separate con? Would you like to see TiaraCon, Vegas, TiaraCon, Miami, TiaraCon, like B-sides?
Oh, let's start. We'd love to have a definite home in the midst of everything in Vegas because people, it's a draw, and the fact that we can create this oasis for women in the middle of the place that was considered the least women-friendly of all, that's pretty fantastic. And we're going to partner. Yeah, we're going to partner with, the people running DEF CON that way and form alliances. And alliances is how you get stuff done. So next year, we want to have a bigger space, bigger attendance, maybe definitely bring in speakers. What we want to do is encourage those young women. We were reached out to by a couple of them who said, you know what, we would love a place where we can come and speak, but it's not to a huge crowd. And it would be maybe just to some women who could make us feel comfortable and we could get used to doing this.
Sure.
Well, that's what we could become. We could become that proving ground because B-Sides has a fantastic idea with proving ground. But again, that is a much bigger conference and it's more competitive to get in. So we can be that stepping stone up. And it is really tough to speak. This is a skill and this is an area we are totally designed to be able to help with. And so next year, that's part of the plan. And I think expanding in terms of representing diversity, not, as a whole, because until we open ourselves up to all of the skill sets and the difference of perspective, we're actually shutting ourselves off from opportunity. So again, finding ways to build that into the conference and into the message that we send, reaching out to the media, potentially having TiaraCon and maybe at another conference is a great idea. We we haven't actually thought of it that, but it really makes a lot of sense. It's a
Well, I
good
mean,
one.
y'all got like Sector up there in the Toronto area. There's, you know, RSA's got a whole big bunch of stuff going on the side. You know, not just vendor. You
Right.
know, it's a big vendor con, but if you actually had an actual convention that, you know,
Hmm.
was security focused, you know, that might be something. And there's a lot of movers and shakers in the industry there. So, you know, um,
Thank you. I might take that and run with it.
knock yourself out. It's not patented or anything, you know. So, you know, there's also virtual conventions all over the place too. So, I mean, there's if they
That's
don't
true.
want to, you know, if for people who do have issues with public speaking, something virtual may be a little better. I know I have a face for radio, so I my first speaking engagement was actually at an ISSA meeting that had like 15 people. So it was nice and a little intimate thing, you know. So
Right.
you know, I can understand the need to maybe work your way up to a stable talk or something, you know, a track talk at a DerbyCon like thing where you got 300 people in the room. So, um,
Yes.
yeah, very awesome. So
And
that's TiaraCon, and when is it going on exactly?
okay, so
We
it's
actually we haven't talked about that. When is it going on during DerbyCon?
uh, so it is Thursday, August the 4th, and
Okay,
Friday, August the 5th. And
okay,
yeah, so starting at
fourth and
about
fifth.
6 o'clock on the Thursday night, and then yeah, on Friday morning at 9, we have a 3 hour. It'll be about a 3 hour workshop with Deirdre Diamond. So
Okay,
she's like, yeah, Cyber SN and Brain Babe. She's got
okay.
a lot to offer. So that's the exciting stuff.
Is there recruiting going on during that time? I know you said resume writing, but doesn't that often lend itself to doing recruiting as well?
I believe there will be yeah, opportunities.
Sweet.
Absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice. Okay. So that's TiaraCon. If you're going to spend the big bucks to go to Black Hat or DEF CON, and you just want to go on in and say hi and network some more, that's another place you can go to do that. I'm sure there's instructions on, what is it, TiaraCon.com?
TiaraCon.org. Yes.
Org.
And there's a form that you need to RSVP and send in. That way you
Okay.
get your Blinky badge and then you get accepted in. And yeah, we actually will be giving out tiaras unless
That's
you
pretty
want to
sweet.
wear your own. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a tiara. My daughter would probably take it away from me though. So yeah, it's okay. I'd let her wear it. So you know that's cool. So
That's
so we didn't want to just talk about TiaraCon. You've done something recently that you'd like to talk about a little bit.
Well, sure. We could definitely talk about some more of the work that I've been doing in terms of segregated systems, mainframes, and ICS SCADA, especially
Okay.
looking at, yeah, because one of the things I've been mapping out over the course of the year is just how vulnerable these systems are. If you're running critical infrastructure, so our energy and oil,
Mm-hmm.
traffic lights, but more importantly, the water, the hydro, and
Mm-hmm.
the hospitals. All of
Yeah.
these are, they're run by these specialized systems that once upon a time were never connected to the rest of the riffraff on the internet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then somebody said, you know what, we got to do this, and we've got to, we're gonna move from isolated things and the programmable logic controller. We're gonna have to put in some terminals, and we're gonna have to put Windows on them, and then we're gonna connect into the network. And as soon as you do that, you've opened up a Pandora's box, and it never goes back to where it was. And then you have the additional challenge of managing BYOD because it's everywhere. So people will bring everything in, anything in. And that's how come USB drives are the problem that they are. That's if you want Stuxnet, well, that's how you get Stuxnet.
Yeah.
So
my question is, okay, so you've got these SCADA systems and they're what, 30, 35 years old, 20,
yeah.
30 years old.
Yes,
They were retrofitted with an IP stack, right? They didn't necessarily have networking capabilities at the time, did they? They had to have like add-on cards or something like that because they were using things like IPX and Novell NetWare and stuff to be able to network. And they didn't have the internet to speak of because nothing was as internet connected as it was now. It was all like, okay, well, I need to be able to access this from my BlackBerry. Let's go ahead and give it an IP stack, right?
Yeah, I liken it to when somebody builds an addition on an addition on an addition, and it was never the architecture of that building was never designed for that in mind. So it's how do you make a bad thing worse? If we all know that you build security in from the ground up and then it's solid, but if you build something and you have to bandage it, it's never going to be that sturdy. So that's where our holes and our gaps are occurring. And there's just the whole issue around funding. Well, the money isn't there because the attitude isn't there or the budget was never created. The perspective that, well, we're not really a target or this isn't really going to become a problem because it never has been a problem, or ignorance, woeful ignorance. But all of these factors open up these systems so that we get ransomware happening at a power and power and light utility in Michigan, the first instance of ransomware in the United States. And while it didn't shut down the grid, it did shut down support systems within that office for a considerable length of time.
Yeah.
So we know it can happen and what it looks like when it does happen, and that we are absolutely vulnerable to it. So if that's on a small scale, what happens when it's on a larger scale? And for me, the scary stuff was waiting to see what happened when somebody decided to make a power play, which is what happened with Russia and the Ukraine at the beginning of this year. And that situation was carefully monitored and managed, and because you really didn't want people pointing the finger at Putin saying, yeah, you did that, without having pretty darned absolute proof that, yes, that is how it occurred. But what we learned from that was invaluable. To start with, why you have to be vigilant about monitoring your systems. There's little things that we could be doing with very big security outcomes. If you are watching your systems and you have a baseline and you know what normal looks like, you will catch the anomaly. And the anomaly can be malware, or it can be ransomware, or it can be that APT, which in the case of the Ukraine it was, because they were in the networks for months and they were moving around laterally, looking for all of the credentials that they needed to be able to jump a major security gap. They found their way in to the critical infrastructure side from the more administrative side via a VPN, because they could harvest the credentials over from the admin side, because they had had all of these months in the network. And that's where we keep losing any advantage we may have. That's our lag time right up front there, is that we are not able to monitor effectively to catch the guys that are living in the systems. We know they are in there. We can't pretend that they're not. We can't say that they're not. They absolutely are. And part of the research that I was and have been doing for my talk on the banks has to do with how long these attackers, and they are very sophisticated and well-funded, can live in your systems, what they're finding, and then what they're doing. And it's it's staggering, but the outcome is devastating.
Is it a culture thing? You talking about the banks, having more robust systems these days. That was brought about because of, fiduciary and compliance requirements. Does the SCADA, do dams and nuclear power plants and all these? Do they have any kind of governmental body that says, hey, you need to have X, Y, and Z to be secure? Or, do they have like a PCI for themselves that they have to follow?
Well, yes, there is. But here's the truth. It is a very limited application. So if it's a government regulated body, and in the case of the power grids, to an extent, they are. That portion that the government oversees, they make sure. Are you patching? Are we testing? Is it meeting security standards? The things we'd like to see happening, that's happening within that quadrant. It's the fact that you have so many private redistributors. That's where it all falls to hell in a handbasket.
Okay.
Because they're not regulated. So there's no onus on them. There's no accountability. They're not reporting to anybody. Nobody's looking at them. And those are the big gaps, and that's where we're going to have the problems. That's where we are having problems.
And redistributors are third party organizations that do something for the systems.
So so they take it from the government regulated bodies, and then the private distributors across big swaths, really, all over the country.
Okay.
So in various chunks, various sizes, but they have people think that the government regulated part is the bigger chunk, but in truth, no, you flip that around. They're the smaller chunk that are managed. And that's the concern, because you can't control what these third parties are doing. There's nothing in there to enforce it. Okay.
So how do we need to fix this? Obviously, it's not the systems that need to be. Well, okay, I'm saying it needs to be. There needs to be fixes to the systems, but there also needs to be like a change in the culture. Do we have to teach the IT administrators to properly segregate the networks? Because it seems like a good IT administrator would be able to do that. Is it a problem of properly skilled people, or is it an issue where management doesn't care and they just want to make sure that they can do their job? We heard this a couple of weeks ago with Miss Kim Green, where she was talking about they're there to save lives. They can't be bothered with security. I don't think she said that. I probably said that. I don't want to put words into her mouth because I've had to apologize at least once this year already for saying something. But is it a thing where if we don't do our job, then people don't get to watch The Voice, or they don't get to watch Skin Wars or whatever it is on TV because you don't get electricity? Do they use those kinds of excuses, and does that fly for the government?
Well, it's an attitude. It's an entrenched attitude, and that's the hard thing. So it is a culture change. It is getting buy-in at the level of the people who are, administrating these plants or these power utilities, and convincing them that they have to do something different, that they've been inherently taught, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Because their experience has been, if you apply a patch to an ICS system, you're probably going to knock it over, and they don't come back up.
Yeah.
So you just, unless it's completely broken, at which point you replace it. So you let it go until it's completely broken. And that's, for them, they've perceived that the risks justify the efforts. Well, it's not that bad if it happens this way. But they haven't seen a scenario of when the entire grid goes down and then they are without power for several days. Although there's now reports, people are questioning it, but there are reports there was a massive cyber attack a number of years ago that took out a fair chunk of the U.S. power grid, but nobody, of course, was going to attribute it to that. It's just been making its way out into the stories, and it's still being debated now, but that it proved the attackers. But again, it was, if you are not paying attention to what's going on in the network, and you're not even really doing the bare minimum of what's required, you're just doing what has to be done, then you're really missing everything, because it's easy. It's like playing a game with you're blindfolded and people just go around you. It's the same with the attackers in your system. They're in the system.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got people who are buying buying these systems, and you don't have 150 of these nuclear reactors, or 150 of these dams all over a lot of this is custom software and hardware, right?
That's it entirely. Yes.
Okay. So would the onus for proper testing and testing of patches and stuff be on the company that has created the device or the system? And you would think that the people who are running those systems would be in more close communication with the company that made them. I'm thinking that would make more sense to have the company that built it actually doing proper testing before they push these patches out, and give, Toronto Power and Light, or whatever they call it up there, more confidence that they can actually apply these patches without being a problem. I know it's like, with Microsoft, there's everybody's a precious snowflake, and we can't do this with X because it'll break our application. There shouldn't be that much in the way of customization to a DAM system that a company can't go back and go, okay, these are what our settings are, this is what our configuration looks like, can you test this patch against this configuration for us before we decide to apply it? Am I off here, or is that something that makes logic sense but doesn't make business sense?
Maybe it's because it makes logic sense, but it doesn't make business sense, because everybody's in there to, if they don't have to spend more money to do something, even though it's right. The vendors I hold vendors accountable. Yeah. To a degree, but we see problems in terms of what are they selling. Well, there are units within ICS that just recently, like 2 months ago, were identified as having default hard-coded passwords. So that's how you kill security before it's even out of the gate.
Sure.
And we all know better, but you're still building these things, and you're selling these things, and you're selling them into an industry where the equipment is very particular. So people aren't going to mess around. They don't want to have to touch things once they've got them set up and in place. So really, you need to think about the system design for that and build security and give them an option so they can manage their passwords accurately, better than it's already built in and somebody's going to be able to hack the heck out of it.
Yeah, hard-coded passwords, you hear them in SCADA systems. You also hear them in like your routers, yes. Old crappy, company, routers have hard-coded hash values or something in. So, yeah, we're going to have to back it down, not even to the vendors, but the developers who are running this and the testers who are looking at the code before they push these things out. And it's just education all around, it seems like.
And it was driven, I believe, out of a need to make it simpler for the end users. How do we make it simpler for these guys? Because they're just, they're going to be technicians. They don't really want to have to mess around with fiddling with the system setup and changing passwords. So if we just build it in, it's going to make sense. That was the ethos, and I think that's what drove it, and that's what the vendors heard, and that's what they built according to for spec. That's what we're going to have to change. So we've got a culture that's as embedded as these passwords.
Yeah. So, our companies, I don't know how much experience you have with SCADA companies, but are they listening and learning to not do these stupid things anymore? Are they following like the common weakness enumeration? Is there this is critical infrastructure, and yet the critical infrastructure is the most insecure stuff, and yet it's the stuff that governments say we have to secure.
Yep. We had Obama's mandate how many years ago about just doing a proper job of securing critical infrastructure. So there definitely have been inroads made. I will say that there is a clear awareness happening within the industry that vendors are acknowledging the need to do things differently, and some of them stepping up and taking more ownership over these reported problems of not, the password defaults or the insecure Ethernet switches, things that will absolutely pose a big security risk in this kind of environment. but it's slow to come. So
Yeah.
there is hope, but it's not as fast as it would happen outside, I think, of this area. The change at this level, certainly at a cultural level, it's like watching snow melt, maybe. It does take a very long time. So the concern is, given what we've seen over the past 6 months even, how much time do we have before another major incident happens? And how, what kind of vulnerabilities have attackers looked at that we have glossed over or are oblivious to?
Yeah.
Because they know our networks.
That's true. Yeah, and they can probably buy it, or they know our failings, and that's another thing. It's like we have to update our critical infrastructure incident response plans to protect against cyber attack, because when they probably wrote these things 30 odd years ago, when they put this thing in, there was no threat model for that. So having to rewrite all this and to train all your employees on what to do if you get ransomware on the screen with the box that goes bing. If it gets malware, what do? Oh well, we can't do anything because there's no replacement for that.
That's it. And take for instance, like Conficker, the worm that does not die. That got in there, and that has persisted. And that has persisted because the systems don't get patched. It's such a basic security fundamental, but it doesn't happen in this environment. Yeah. And I know that the reasoning is because the systems are so temperamental or so fragile that how do you outweigh the risk? Do I risk breaking it, bringing down an entire system to apply this patch, or do I just hope for the best? Really, that's what you must be doing if you're not going to put the patch on, because you know how many holes, and that's all the advantage that the attackers have. They know every single vulnerability now on the Windows XP systems and the Windows 7 systems. Mm-hmm. And these are like XP's no longer supported, but it's prevalent out there. Yeah. And if you've got anything else, God forbid, that's running alongside it, that's like a beacon. Oh, God forbid, Adobe everything.
Sure.
But and that Adobe's going to be in there because somebody's running Adobe somewhere in there, because they're generating PDFs or they have to do a Flash. It's just part and parcel. Yep. So we have unprotected systems. All those vulnerabilities, the attackers have been steadily building exploits and being able to refine their exploits. There's no question of how they can get in. They can get in. They can make themselves welcome. And for me, the other big part of this year was watching the evolution and charting the evolution of ransomware and seeing it go from a pain in the ass, literally, to something that is potentially terrifying. Oh, because it's not, it doesn't just cause you the loss of your own personal files. As we watched with the hospitals, it can take down an entire system, and it becomes a matter of life and death. And isn't, and when it's able to come in, which it did through the JBoss exploits, again, unpatched older systems, and it comes in and you don't even have to rely on phishing, and it becomes polymorphic, and it finds its way through your networks. It moves laterally. It goes through undetected. It knows how to sniff out AV, and it can find a virtual environment and shut itself down. It can erase its footsteps. It can actually change its own signature within your network so that if you thought you were trailing it, it turns into something else and becomes like a chameleon.
Yep. So a lot of those old Windows boxes that they don't want to test, they're just really controlling hardware through like a serial multiplexer or something. They're still using like hyperterm to be able to, send commands and do whatever. I mean, how badly is it in some of those control rooms? How bad is it?
I haven't had the pleasure of visiting them, but I will say that from what I know from experience, having seen in other places, that yes, people use old equipment. They use what they know. They use what they have.
Exactly.
And it's human nature, right? This is when we come up against the human factor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we can hope to do some security awareness, but it really has to come down to reaching these people, or more importantly, reaching the people that these people take their direction from, and convincing them they have to put better equipment in place. Because then the people who report to them will just use what they've been given. It'll be a lot safer. Very
nice. You know what? I think we need to leave it right there. I didn't actually. We're at 50 minutes. I had no idea. So that's pretty awesome. So in closing, go to TiaraCon. If you want to go to TiaraCon, you don't necessarily have to be just a woman, but it would be nice. It's not preferred, but it would be nicer if you were a woman who was going to this thing. It's still cool if guys show up, as long as you behave yourselves. They will tase you. They will tase you mercilessly if you act up. So be nice.
We will.
Tiara makeup party. Yeah. Get you tiara. Yeah, I'd love to have tiara, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to attend this year. So maybe I'll go next year just to go to the cheaper cons, and then that'll work out. So so if you go to TiaraCon, how do you get into TiaraCon? You have to register, but do you have to have a ticket from Black Hat to get in?
Okay, so you don't have to have a DEF CON badge to get into TiaraCon.
DEF CON, yeah.
Yeah. But you do have to register on our site. We will have your name, and we will be checking you in as you come in. So you go on to TiaraCon.org, the site, and just fill in the form. Simple as that. Honest, it's not a phishing email. It's for reals. And that's pretty much it. And that way you get your Blinky badge, your tiara, and a chance to really help make change happen in terms of getting more women into InfoSec.
Very nice. Okay. So, Ms. Cheryl, if people wanted to reach out, talk to you more about SCADA or ICS or segmented systems, or even TiaraCon, maybe they want to, are you guys still taking sponsors or donations?
Oh, absolutely. You can reach out to us via the website. We've got contact information there. We'd love to hear from you. That would be fabulous.
Okay. And personally, how would they get a hold of you if they wanted to?
They can definitely reach me. I'm at Encrypted. So leet speak 3NCR1PT3D on the Twitters. Yeah, I'm on there all the time.
Very
you
cool.
Can probably hunt me down on LinkedIn if you know my real name. I'm there too with a legit job. And yeah, come and see us. I would love to say hi to people this year at Vegas. I really look forward to getting to say hi to so many people. That would be amazing.
Excellent. Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming. You're always welcome to come on and talk about, SCADA and ICS and mainframes are really, sexy and really hot and really, always going to be a problem. So, it never fails to generate some real press. So you can always come back if you want to. And I really enjoyed having you on today.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, Brian. Yeah, mainframes are sexy.
They are sexy. Big iron, baby. Yeah. So, the official BreakSec podcast is at BreakSec on Twitter, BRAKE SEC, SEC. Mr. Betcher, who's not here, he's still on vacation. You can find him at BetcherPwned, BOETTCHERPWNED. You can find me at Brian Brake, BRYANBRAKE on Twitter. I like spelling those out because people spell my name wrong because I'm the only one who spells it right that I know of. Anyway, so we're on Facebook, LinkedIn. We have a Tumblr. I just started our SoundCloud account, so episodes are updating on there. Libsyn has finally decided to allow people to encode directly to YouTube, so we have a YouTube channel there where you can you'll be able to hear this conversation if you're not already listening to it there. We value our patrons. We thank them for sponsoring us. It helps offset some of the costs. So if you want to leave us a little tip jar, please reach out to us on Patreon. Links in the show notes. Links for everything is in the show notes, including to Miss Cheryl's Twitter account, so you can friend her there. So any last thoughts before we go?
Oh, absolutely. If you want to try something in tech, don't let somebody tell you that you can't. There's no such thing as you can't. Open yourself up to it, go explore, take it apart, make the mistakes, you learn from the mistakes, but absolutely give yourself that opportunity. You have no idea where it will lead, but it will lead to someplace fantastic. There.
I've got nothing else to add because that was awesome. All right. Well, that was it for Breaking Down Security this week. We hope to see you again real soon. And we're clear. Awesome.
Oh, that was great. Thank you.
No, that was great. Anytime we have somebody on for an interview, we always shoot for half an hour. So, I'm glad you were able to do, to do a little bit about the ICS and SCADA stuff because, yeah, that's nightmare. Did you see that article this week about the ransomware that it deletes everything, and even if you pay them, they're like, oh, there's nothing to give you. Oh, our bad.
Jerks. They are. I profile that every day. I do a little threat intel piece that I circulate to all of the company people involved in cyber so that I can bring them up to speed. And that was one of the pieces I covered. Yeah. I actually did I got interviewed by SC Magazine to talk to them at length about ransomware, which was really nice. Well, you know what it came out of? Because it was fun. I was dogging the tail of, Tony at DA667.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so we would have we'd be up, I swear to God, at 2:00 in the morning, talking about ransomware and what he had discovered and what we were afraid of and just plotting these trajectories. And I had a couple of phone calls with somebody back and forth about what they knew and what was really happening and what, stuff people couldn't be talking about. And then suddenly it morphed into the hospitals. Yeah. And then it morphed into the JBoss scenarios. And it was almost like a movie to be part of this and watch it unfold. But that tied so strongly in with my inclinations around the mainframes, and then finding the parallels between the mainframes and the ICS SCADA systems and saying, holy crap, like, why aren't we talking more about this? Why aren't we learning about this?
Yeah. The thing about that new ransomware that just deletes all the files, you pay less, but you get nothing back. I can't imagine how the ransomware people that actually, are legit, running a legit business, where it's like, oh, we've hacked you, pay us 2 Bitcoin and we'll give you your money, give you your files back. And they actually do so. If I was those people, I'd be finding those folks who are like, oh, we deleted all your stuff and you paid us $120. I'd be beating the shit out of those people because that, the first time that somebody doesn't get their files back after getting paid the ransom, the whole trust model there is gone because they pay because, one, they're desperate, and two, it's like, well, they'll at least give me my files back, which 99% of the time they do. Now you've got these guys who are like, oh, we don't care, it's delete. And it's like, why would they want to pay the people who are like, yeah, we're totally legit, ransomware people, we're going to give you your files back? No, you won't. How do I know you won't? Because I got these people over here. It totally screws up the trust model. And if I was those more legit folks, I'd be beating the shit out of the folks that just created that malware.
I will be willing to bet you that they are going to go do that.
Because they're like, oh, you're screwing our business model. Please stop doing this.
Yeah, because Ivan and Igor run a very efficient enterprise. They're all profit motivated.
Exactly. And you're screwing our profits because now people won't pay us because they'll just be like, oh, well, we're screwed anyway. We can't guarantee he's actually going to give us that after we pay the $800. So, Well, you just got home, so you probably need to go eat. I need to go eat because I got to take my daughter to parkour class. So it was great. having you on.
Thank
I didn't expect to get a full segment out of this, actually, so that was awesome. And I'm glad you could join me.
Well, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. And if I meet you up I will bring a tiara for you if I can make it to DerbyCon.
Okay. Well, yeah,
You can give it to your daughter.
That'll be cool. Yes, I would definitally enjoy a tiara if you've got one. Are you going to be at DerbyCon definitely, or you're just still looking for tickets?
I'm shooting for it. I'm hoping to talk my way in, get a talk accepted, and then I can get in.
Very cool. Yeah, I submitted for a talk as well. I don't know if I'll get accepted, but I have a ticket anyway outside the ordinary. So, okay. Right on.
All right.
Good night.
Good talking to you, Brian. Bye.
Bye.